Right now, if your air conditioner is more than 8 years old, a $15,000 bill already has your name on it. It was written the moment Congress signed a law that your HVAC technician understands perfectly and has been counting on you not to read. What they've engineered isn't just a new refrigerant. It's the largest forced wealth transfer in the history of American home ownership, and it was designed to look exactly like an environmental regulation. Today, we expose the full anatomy of the 2026 refrigerant scam, the patents, the banned gas, the flammable replacement they're pumping through the walls of your house, and the three-part survival strategy that could keep $15,000 in your bank account. Stay until the end, because the survival strategy is the part the industry is hoping you never find. Walk into any HVAC showroom today, and you'll see a row of gleaming white units from Carrier, Trane, Lennox, and Goodman. You'll assume you're shopping a competitive marketplace. You'll assume the laws of supply and demand protect you. You'll assume that because there are a dozen logos on the wall, someone out there is fighting for your business. That assumption is the product they're actually selling. The reality is that the refrigerant those machines run on, not the machines themselves, but the gas inside them, is now controlled by two chemical giants, Chemours and Honeywell. And through a combination of international treaty, EPA rulemaking, and patent law, they have locked every American homeowner into a system where the only legal way to cool your home runs through their intellectual property. Think about what that means in practice. It doesn't matter if you choose Carrier or Trane or a budget brand from a regional distributor. Every single one of those machines depends on a refrigerant that is patented, price-controlled, and supply-managed by corporations that answer to shareholders, not to the family sweating through August in a house that used to be comfortable. Your air conditioner is now a subscription service you didn't sign up for. The machine is just the hardware. The gas is the software. And they hold the license. Here's how they pulled it off. For 30 years, the industry standard refrigerant was R410A. It was efficient, it was non-flammable, and most importantly, its patent had expired. Any manufacturer on Earth could produce it. The price was stable. The supply chain was universal. A technician in rural Montana had the same access to it as a contractor in downtown Miami. That last part is what killed it. In 2023, under the authority of the AIM Act, signed into law in 2020, and the International Kigali Amendment, the EPA finalized a phase-down schedule that issued a death sentence for R410A. The official reason, its global warming potential, or GWP, is too high. R410A has a GWP of 2088. The new mandated replacements, R454B and R32, have GWPs of 466 and approximately 677 respectively, measured over a 100-year horizon. On paper, that looks like an environmental victory. Here is what the press release didn't mention. R410A's patents had expired. R454B is patented by Chemours. R32, while not exclusively owned as a compound, is surrounded by Daikin patents on the key system designs and application methods required to use it commercially in the United States. By mandating the switch through federal law, the government effectively handed these corporations a captive global market with minimal competition. Every HVAC unit installed in America from 2026 forward is legally required to use a gas whose commercial application is controlled by private patent holders. There is no generic version, there is no off-brand alternative, there is no free market, there is a mandate and a patent, and between the two of them, you have no leverage. The gas you've been using for 30 years, without incident, is now a controlled substance. The replacement gas costs 4 times as much, requires entirely new equipment to handle, and carries a classification that should make any homeowner pause. A 2L, mildly flammable. For the first time in the history of residential climate control, the refrigerant running through the walls of your home can ignite under the right conditions. Not explosively, not dramatically, but flammable enough that every regulatory body in the country has decided that your next air conditioner must be built differently, certified differently, installed differently, and maintained differently. The industry will tell you the risk is negligible, and they may be right. But that one word, flammable, is the legal trigger for everything that comes next, and it has nothing to do with saving the planet. Because the new gas can theoretically ignite, Every unit manufactured after January 1, 2026 is now required by law to include leak mitigation sensors. These sensors are designed to detect any escape of refrigerant and automatically shut down the system, then activate emergency ventilation fans to disperse the chemical before it can accumulate to dangerous levels. The safety logic sounds reasonable. Here is the engineering reality. These sensors live inside the air handler, which is inside your home, surrounded by humidity, dust, temperature swings, and the constant vibration of a machine running 12 hours a day in August. They are ultra-sensitive electrochemical detectors performing continuous molecular level monitoring in one of the most hostile domestic environments that exists. They were not designed for a laundry room in Florida. They were designed for a controlled industrial setting where they get inspected, calibrated, and replaced on a scheduled maintenance cycle. Nobody is telling you that when they hand you the quote. HVAC technicians in the field are already reporting a failure pattern. The sensor throws a false positive, the system locks out in safety mode, the house heats up to 90 degrees, and the homeowner calls for emergency service. The technician arrives, plugs in a diagnostic tool, and resets the sensor. Bill, $300 to $500. Time to next false positive. Unknown. And when the sensor fails outright, not a false positive but actual component death, the replacement part alone runs $400 to $800 on a unit that costs $15,000 installed. This is a $600 component on a brand new machine that you may be replacing within the first 3 years of ownership. You are being forced by federal mandate to buy a machine with a known weak point that will fail in the most inconvenient possible circumstances. The hottest day of the year, when every HVAC technician within 50 miles is already booked solid. But the sensors are not the most expensive new failure point. That title belongs to the motherboard. The circuit board controlling a 2026 compliant unit must now manage the safety sensor logic, the A2L, specific frequency inverter, leak response protocols, and multi-stage variable speed compressor communication. The engineering complexity that used to live in a simple relay board has been replaced with something closer to an industrial programmable logic controller. The result is a board that costs $200 to manufacture and $1,200 to replace, assuming your contractor can even source it within a reasonable time frame. Supply chains for these new proprietary components are still being established, and back orders of 6 to 10 weeks are already being reported in the first year of mandatory deployment. They have installed a data center inside a machine that lives in your attic, and they have made you financially responsible for its complexity. Let's build the quote line by line, because the number $15,000 is not an exaggeration. It is the number contractors are quoting for a full mid-range system replacement across major markets in 2026. Here is where every dollar goes. Equipment cost increase, 30 to 50%. Carrier, Trane, and Lennox have had to fully re-engineer their entire product lines. New copper coil specifications for A2L pressure profiles, reinforced ventilated cabinets, the sensor array, the new motherboard architecture, a unit that left the factory in 2021 costing $3,500 now leaves costing $5,000 to $5,500 before it touches a truck. Every dollar of that R&D investment is being passed directly to you, the end consumer, with no negotiation and no alternatives. Labor doubled. To legally handle A2L refrigerants, an HVAC technician now requires certifications previously reserved for industrial gas handling and fire hazard work. These are not weekend courses. They are multi-week training programs with licensing exams, and the cost of that education is factored into every service call. Their general liability insurance has doubled because, on paper, they are now installing a combustible system in a residential structure. There are tools, spark-proof wrenches, a 2L rated recovery machines, specialized leak detection equipment, all cost more than the standard kit. You are paying for their credentials, their insurance premium, their specialized gear, and their legal exposure. The hourly rate has moved from reasonable to what you'd expect from a licensed engineer, not a service tech. The line set replacement. This is the kill shot. In every previous refrigerant transition, a competent technician could flush the existing copper lines and connect the new unit. Technicians did it for decades. It was standard practice. In 2026, that shortcut will void your warranty and likely destroy your compressor within 12 months. The reason: R4, 5, 4B, and R32 require specific synthetic oils that are chemically incompatible with the residue of R410A oil. Any trace of the old oil remaining in the copper lines creates an acidic reaction that attacks the new compressor from the inside out. The warranty language in every major manufacturer's documentation is explicit. Contaminated line set equals voided warranty, no exceptions, no appeals. So the technician has to pull every inch of copper out of your walls. That is demolition work. That is sheetrock repair. That is an invasive, multi-day structural procedure that doubles the labor hours on every installation and adds a general contractor dimension to what used to be a straightforward equipment swap. Some homeowners are discovering a fourth cost that nobody puts on the initial quote, electrical upgrades. The new variable speed A2L compliant units draw power differently than the old single-stage equipment. In homes with older electrical panels, this triggers a code compliance review, which can require a panel upgrade at $2,000 to $4,000 before the HVAC permit will even be approved. Add it all together. Inflated equipment cost, doubled labor rates, mandatory line set replacement, and potential electrical work. And $15,000 stops being a worst-case scenario. It becomes the starting point for a conversation that only goes up from there. And the real crime is what they did to make your perfectly functional working system worthless overnight. Your current R410A unit may be running perfectly right now. It may have 10 years of reliable service left in the compressor. The industry doesn't need to ban it. They've done something far smarter than an outright ban. They've made maintaining it financially impossible over time, so you arrive at the same destination on your own, convinced the decision was yours. R410A production has been phased down under federal mandate, not banned entirely, but deliberately restricted. Available supply is being tightened every year according to a published EPA schedule. The result is already visible in every HVAC market in the country. The price of R410A has increased over 400% since 2023. A routine refrigerant recharge that cost $200 in 2021 now costs $800 to $1,000, $500, depending on your region, the time of year, and the severity of the leak. Picture the moment this happens to you. The technician delivers this news in July, when your house is 85 degrees inside and your family has been sleeping with fans for 2 days. At that moment, they present you with a choice that has been engineered to have only one profitable answer. Spend $1,500 on a gas that will cost even more next year and the year after that, or put that money toward the $15,000 system you're going to need eventually anyway. It's not a choice, it's a controlled collapse. The math has been arranged so that the rational decision and the profitable decision point to the same door. And here is the piece of the puzzle that transforms this from bad policy into a documented commercial scheme. The timing of these mandates aligns perfectly with patent expiration cycles. R410A lost its patent protection and became a commodity that any manufacturer could produce cheaply. R454B is currently under patent and generating premium margins. When R454B's patent expires and open competition would naturally drive the price down to commodity levels, watch the regulatory calendar for the next emergency environmental justification. This is not a conspiracy theory. It is a documented business model with a paper trail. The EPA's own public rulemaking records show that chemical manufacturers were active participants in the stakeholder process that produced the regulations mandating their own patented replacements. They didn't just benefit from the outcome, they shaped it from the inside. They didn't just benefit from the new rules, they helped write them. Here is what the industry has not accounted for: informed homeowners who refuse to panic on schedule. These are your 3 exits. Exit 1. The repair first calculus. Any technician who tells you that a unit over 7 years old isn't worth repairing is reciting industry talking points, and those talking points were written during a decade when replacement cost $5,000. The old rule of thumb was simple: don't spend more than 50% of the cost of a new unit on a single repair. That rule made mathematical sense when new meant $5,000. It is completely irrational when new means $15,000. If your unit needs a fan motor, a capacitor, an evaporator coil, or even a refrigerant recharge, repair it. Repair it even if the bill is $2,000 or $3,000. At $3,000 in repairs, you are still $12,000 ahead of the alternative, And you are buying time in a market that is going to look very different in 3 to 4 years as A2L competition matures and prices normalize. The only scenario where replacement becomes the rational choice is catastrophic compressor failure combined with structural chassis corrosion. If the compressor is seized and the cabinet is rotted through with rust, the machine has reached the end of its structural life. But if the metal is sound, the machine is salvageable, and anyone telling you otherwise is selling you something. Exit 2. The tax credit extraction strategy. If you are forced to replace, never, under any circumstances, pay the full price without extracting every federal and state credit you are legally entitled to. Most homeowners hand over $15,000 without asking a single question about subsidy, eligibility, and the contractor has no financial incentive to bring it up. The Inflation Reduction Act's 25C tax credit provides up to $2,000 annually for qualifying high-efficiency heat pump systems. This is a direct tax credit, not a deduction, meaning it comes directly off your tax bill dollar for dollar. Many states layer additional utility rebates on top of the federal credit, ranging from $1,000 to $3,000 depending on your utility provider and equipment efficiency rating. In some markets, the combined federal and state credits can reduce your effective out-of-pocket cost by $4,000 to $5,000. The rule is simple: if a $15,000 system doesn't qualify for at least $2,000 in credits, the contractor is either selling you the wrong technology, the wrong efficiency tier, or they haven't done the paperwork. Ask specifically for the tax credit eligibility certificate at the point of sale. It is your legal right, and the absence of one is a red flag. Exit 3. The 2030 Survival Protocol. This is the highest leverage strategy available to anyone with a functioning R410A system today. The goal is to keep your current unit running reliably until 2028 or 2029, past the volatile and expensive early adoption phase of A2L technology, into the window where genuine competition has re-entered the market and prices have had time to stabilize. Standard once-a-year maintenance will not get you there. The machines that survive another 4 or 5 years are the ones with owners who treat them like the $15,000 financial assets they are. You need an extreme preventive maintenance protocol with 3 non-negotiable components. First, deep chemical coil cleaning every 6 months, not once a year. Dirty coils force the compressor to operate at elevated head pressures, which accelerates wear on the bearing surfaces and is the single most common cause of premature compressor failure in aging R410A systems. A $150 coil cleaning twice a year is the highest return maintenance investment you can make. Second, a dedicated surge protector on the outdoor unit. The new generation circuit boards entering the market are sensitive enough that a lightning strike 2 miles away can produce a voltage transient capable of destroying the control board. A $40 whole unit surge protector installed at the disconnect is the cheapest insurance in the history of home maintenance. It protects a component that, on a 2026 unit, costs $1,200 to replace. Third, anti-corrosion treatment on the copper line sets and cabinet penetrations annually. Micro-leaks at fittings and brazed joints are the primary reason. R410A systems need expensive recharges. Treating those vulnerable points proactively with a sealant costs approximately $80 per service visit. Discovering a micro-leak after it has depleted your charge and triggered a compressor strain event costs $1,200 minimum. Invest $300 to $400 a year in this protocol, and a well-maintained R410A unit can run reliably past 2030. That is 4 years of patience that could save you from buying into a technology that is still in its most failure-prone and expensive phase. The industry is counting on your discomfort and your urgency. Every year you hold that machine on your own terms is a year the industry does not win. What you just learned is not a consumer tip. It is the operating manual for a system that was deliberately engineered to make you pay $15,000 for something you already own and something that is already working. The 2026 HVAC market is not broken. It is functioning exactly as designed by chemical patent holders, their lobbyists, and the regulators who signed the rules they helped author. The machine in your attic is not the problem. The financial architecture built around that machine, the mandated gas, the patented components, the obsolescence timeline, that is what was engineered against you. The industry needs your panic. It needs you to feel the July heat. look at an $800 repair estimate, and make a $15,000 decision in the same afternoon without the information you just absorbed. That impulse purchase, made under physical discomfort and time pressure, is the business model. Don't give it to them. Protect the equipment you have, apply the maintenance protocol before you need it, demand every tax credit you are legally owed if replacement becomes unavoidable. And if you enter the market, enter it as someone who has read the warranty language, asked for the eligibility certificate, and understands that the first 2 years of any new technology's commercial deployment are its most expensive and most failure-prone years. The industry spent years building this trap. You just spent 17 minutes learning how it works. That is the only advantage that actually matters when the technician is standing in your driveway with a quote in his hand. If this analysis saved you money, or if it explained a bill you have already been handed and couldn't understand, share it with one person who is about to make this decision without knowing what they are walking into. And if you want to know which specific 2026 brands are recording the lowest sensor failure rates in the first year of A2L deployment, that is the next video. I'll see you there.